everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Nicole and this is Dusty Book Sniffers, and today we're here for another Women's Prize for Fiction 2025 reading vlog, so let's get started. Good evening everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for taking some time out of your day and spending it with me while I prattle on about the book that I am about to start reading. Alright, so as you know, I am spinning up the wheel, so I have no idea what I'm about to start reading. I am spinning the wheel to and getting that to decide because there was just far too many books that I was interested in and I could not decide what to read first or at all of the Women's Prize for Fiction long list for 2025. So basically, if you are new here and you're not too sure what these videos are about, basically they're a reading vlog. I'm going to read each of the books that are on the long list. I do not DNF them. I persevere and push through. I know that is crazy, but it was the way I started doing this, and I'd rather do that, keep doing that, than DNF and get into the habit of doing that. Because sometimes I feel like you can just miss a really good book. But anyway, as I said, I have no idea what I'm going to be reading right now, so let us spin the wheel and we can find out together what I'm going to be reading. Okay, so let's spin up and see what book I'm going to read next. Fundamentally. Okay, so we are reading Fundamentally by Nussaibah, I had to quickly write it down, Nussaibah Younis, I think is how you pronounce the name. Okay, so I've got all of my details and everything that I needed to get about the book and what it's about and all that sort of stuff. So I get most of my information either from Goodreads or both Goodreads and Storygraph. For the most part these days I go over to Storygraph because it gives me a good tone of what the book is going to be about, and so I've got that information down here. Alright, so there are some trigger warnings on this one, so I will start the talking about it from that point of view. So basically we've got rape, racial slurs, and heavy on the racism in this one. So some of the other things that you might want to know about this book: it is very much a fast to medium paced book. It was very much even for that one. It is the three top moods of this is funny, adventurous, and emotional. Although I'm treading very warily with this one when it says it's a funny, like it's probably got some really dark humor and all that sort of stuff, but I'm treading warily because I think it was last year, it was last year, the 8 Lives of a Century Old Trickster, that a lot of people said was witty and all the rest of it. I did not find that funny at all, or even witty in the slightest. It was quite trauma-filled, that book. So I'm treading warily with these moods that have been set over on Storygraph. But the top 3 ones, as I said, are funny, adventurous, and emotional. And I do have my notes in front of me. It has strong character development. It is a mix of plot and character driven. It has a diverse cast of characters, and the flaws are what we're focusing on the main character. Now the main character is, her name is Nadia, and she is an academic that has written a paper about de-radicalization of ISIS brides, and basically from this paper she has landed a job with the UN in Iraq, and that's where she is headed. So so basically that's all I want to know about the book. I just read the first part of the synopsis. I don't read the synopsis until after I've read the book, excuse me, but all I know in the first part is that she is brokenhearted. She has broken up with her girlfriend, long-term girlfriend, Rosie, and she accepted this job because it was offered to her, and she didn't do much research into the job from what I can tell. So she is now heading off to Iraq to help the UN de-radicalize the ISIS brides. So it sounds like it's going to be a bit of an interesting book. I don't know how I feel about that, because that's asking someone to give up on their beliefs, their core beliefs and stuff like that. So we'll see where the book takes us, I guess. So I'm going to head off and start reading. Of course, I will do the check-ins as I go. I'm planning on reading for most of the day, so I might end up getting this book finished today. And, you know, it's a good day for reading. It's overcast. It looks like it's pretty, like it's going to rain outside today. So I think that curling up on the couch or in bed and having a day of reading is the way to go. Of course, I'll probably do a little bit of crafting and stuff a little bit later on as well. But for now, I'm going to head off and get stuck in to Fundamentally. Hi everybody and welcome back. All right, this is my first check-in for Fundamentally by Nussaibah Younis, and I am at about 38% now. I've actually really fallen into this story pretty hard. I am actually really appreciating how it is written and the storyline and just how everything is playing out in the book. So basically we've got Nadia, who is a academic who at some stage wrote a paper on about as I said earlier, about de-radicalization of ISIS brides. And so she has been then approached by the powers that be, and she's found herself in Iraq working with the UN. And now we are just basically, she is way over her head. She hasn't done any, like hadn't given this job any thought whatsoever and what she was going to encounter. And she sort of has, she's gone to the camp where these women are now, for lack of a better term, imprisoned. They're not allowed to go back to their own countries. They're not allowed out of the compound. So essentially they are imprisoned. And they are trying to repatriate these ISIS brides. Now, there are some from Australia, there's some from Russia, there's some from the UK. And the main focus really between Nadia is Nadia and another character, Sarah, who is also from the UK. And basically she is really being drawn towards Sarah because she feels like it could have very well easily have been her that had been put into this situation. And Sarah found herself over in Iraq with the ISIS terrorist group because her friend had left and married someone. She had met someone from Belgium who had then joined ISIS, and then he convinced her to go to Iraq and told her it was beautiful there. She packed up her belongings and went, and she was only 15, I think, at the time, or 16 at the time. And subsequently she was then married as soon as she got off the plane to this gentleman, and basically subsequently she had a baby. But she was trying to get back home. She didn't want to be there. And this was quite a common story. Like, I remember when the whole ISIS thing blew up, this was quite a common story that young girls were being tricked into going to Iraq or to Syria and meeting up with ISIS members and marrying them, and then subsequently being treated really badly and all that sort of stuff. So and like there's also, and then so Sarah was having a tough time at home. She was only 15 when she ended up there, and basically a whole heap of stuff happened, and subsequently she has found herself alone without her best friend. And because her best friend, spoiler, a little bit of a spoiler, her best friend was killed, and basically she's now alone and she's in this camp, and Nadia is really drawn towards her, wanting to help her and all those sort of things. We also get some flashbacks and everything between her and Rosie as well, and why their relationship disintegrated and how she ended up making the decision to come here. And it was 6 months earlier that she mentioned it to Rosie, and Rosie said you can't go and all this sort of stuff. So yeah, but then she ended up going anyway. And she's in a relationship now with Tom, and so we're just now getting to the nitty-gritties of the bureaucrats abusing their power and abusing the money that was used and all that sort of stuff. And so basically while I was reading this book, I'm like, gee, this is sounding like, it sounds like this author really knows her stuff about it. And rightly so. I did bring up some information on the author. Now, this is an indie book. I believe this is there's several indie books on the list this year, and this is one of them. And basically, Dr. Nussaibah Younis is a peace-building practitioner and a globally recognized expert in contemporary Iraq. For several years, Dr. Younis advised the Iraqi government on the proposed programs to de-radicalize women afflicted with ISIS. She has a PhD in international affairs from the University of Durham and a BA in modern history and English from the University of Oxford. Dr. Younis was a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council in Washington, D.C., where she directed the task force on the future of Iraq and offered strategies and advice to the U.S. government agency on Iraqi policy. She lived in Washington, D.C. and in Cambridge, Massachusetts, where she was a postdoctoral fellow of the Harvard Kennedy School Belfer Center. Dr. Younis has published op-eds in the Wall Street Journal, The Guardian, The New York Times, and provided on-air commentary for the BBC and Al Jazeera. She was born in the UK to an Iraqi father and a Pakistani mother, and worked in She has worked in Washington, D.C., Dubai, Cairo, Beirut, and Baghdad. She is currently living in London, and her debut novel is the book that I'm talking about now, which is Fundamentally. That is quite the CV for an author. So I was very, very impressed with that. Rightly so, and because I really did get that feel as I was reading the book. I'm like, it feels like this author has had first-hand experience in this, and that's what led me to go and look and find more about, because I like to go into these books not knowing anything about the authors, not knowing anything about the book. Of course, there are going to be books from authors that I have heard of before and all that sort of stuff, but this one being a debut novel and also an indie novel just had me really intrigued to find out more about this author. Now, I currently also went over to her actual website, and basically they're currently working on a second novel, so I'm looking forward to it. Now, I'm only 38% of the way through right now. This is sitting at a 4-star rating. I don't normally rate them this early, but this is definitely sitting at a 4-star rating right now. I can only see it going up, and in fact, when I went and had a look, and I don't think I covered this in the first clip, I did have it written down. This is actually rating decently. Well, in my opinion, it's rating decently. It is in the high 3s, so it's close to like a star rating on both Goodreads and also Storygraph. So it is rating pretty high amongst readers, which is absolutely fantastic. And I think that we're going to see some fabulous books come from this author in the future. Now, it is pretty heavy-hitting content. They are talking about things that have happened to them. She's also talking about her deconstruction from Nadia is talking, not the author, but Nadia, the character, is talking about her deconstruction from her religion, Muslim religion, around the age of 18. But while she was younger, she was quite religious and did all the things that went with her religion. Now, there is also some comparisons here, because when I went and looked at some of the other things about the author, I believe that the author was also the same as, very religious when she was younger and all that sort of stuff. So do not quote me on that, because I am just reading stuff off the internet, and we all know that sometimes that information can be false. But there was a quasi interview where she was talking about her life and stuff like that. So yeah, this is really knocking my socks off. I'm really enjoying it. Nadia is a bit of a problematic a little bit of a problematic for herself, really, more than anything. But she's so hell-bent on getting this program off the ground that she's now we're now diving into the bureaucracy of different departments, being the UN and UNICEF and all that. So all of these big names that we hear on the news on a regular basis, being in war-torn countries and everything like that, Nadia is now interacting with them and essentially struggling. She is so hell-bent on getting this program off the ground because she wants to help Sarah. And I think she not only wants to help Sarah, she wants to help other women as well, and she really does want to get them repatriated to their original countries. And she's just, and we've got other side characters in there that are, saying that, to de-radicalize someone or to make someone change their beliefs is not right. It's going against human rights violations and all that sort of stuff. And that is the underlying theme in this book. It is, about trying to change someone's beliefs and whether or not that is a right thing or a wrong thing to do. In my opinion, it's a tricky one because, we're talking about a terrorist group here that tricked some of these women and young girls into coming into their folds. Now, if they haven't hurt anybody or anything like that, and that's even covered in here, in this novel as well, I don't think there's anything wrong with repatriating them to their, to their home country and possibly helping them to get over the trauma that they've got. Like, I don't see there's anything wrong with helping them through their trauma and helping them to get home. I have a problem with trying to make them think a different way or have different beliefs and saying that it's wrong because it's their religion. And isn't it, like, this is questions that are coming up for me. Like, it's their religion, it's their beliefs, and what right do the West or any other person for that matter, regardless of whether they're from the West or from within that country, what right does another person have to take that thought process away or to say that it's wrong or anything like that? Because it doesn't matter where you stand in the world, you can look at someone else and find something wrong. And these are all questions that are starting to come up with me. And that's what I love about these books. Sometimes they just are so thought-provoking and make you really go deep into thought. Like, I've actually stopped and sat and thought about it. Coming from a multicultural family and different religions within my family, like my brother is Muslim, my sister is Catholic, I'm non-religious at all, I'm more spiritual. My mum is Church of England, my dad is Catholic. There's so many, and then there's other religions that I think that we've also got Greeks in our family as well, so there's some Greek Orthodox. So there's so many religions just within my family alone that it really makes me think, like how, and we all get along on that. So, and we don't think that any other person is wrong or right because of the faith that they have. And yeah, so it's really interesting and very thought-provoking, this book. So, and I'm really glad that this author has these credentials, because I feel like she's really bringing something to the table on this one, and really, drawing on her own experience of working with different governments and all that sort of stuff. And it's really I feel like it's really coming through on the page. I feel like I'm fangirling right now, but anyway, it is what it is, right? But as I said, I'm really enjoying it. Right now I'm sitting on a 4-star, and yeah, and I can't wait to finish it. As I said, I'm at 38%, and I'm looking forward to going further into this book and seeing how it all wraps up. At the moment, I'm right at that part where she's really trying her hardest, the main character, to get all the departments work together, but she's copping flack from within her own department as well for giving away funds and all that sort of stuff. So it is quite interesting how it's all playing out. Anyway, that's enough of that. I'm going to jump into the rest of the book. I feel like I'm probably not going to check in at the 3/4 mark. I'll probably just come back with a wrap up. I hope that you're having a fabulous day and you're getting lots of pages read, but I will check in shortly. Hi everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I'm here to do a wrap up for Fundamentally by Nussaibah Younis. And yeah, I actually really enjoyed this book. I had a great time with it. As I said in previous clips, I went and researched the author a little bit. Now, I'm just going to go out and say right here, right now, that if this author wrote a non-fiction book, I'm not a big non-fiction girly. I do read a little bit, but I'm not a huge fan. I would be all over that. I would pick that up without a problem. I'd hand over my money no matter how much it was, because I just love the way this author writes. Now, and the reason why I say non-fiction, because I'd be really interested to see more from her life as a peace keeper, basically. And yeah, so I would love to hear about her life. And obviously she hasn't written a non-fiction one, probably because, you know, there are situations that she's been in where, you know, she can't speak about it or anything like that. Well, not yet anyway, you know, security clearance and all that sort of stuff. Just her CV alone, like, I know I'm sound like I'm fangirling a bit, but just, it was very interesting to see how she has written this this fiction works now. And so if you do end up reading this book, I suggest that you read the author's note on it as well. Like at the end, don't read it beforehand, because she incorporates, she lists in there the reasons why she chose particular areas and all that sort of stuff, and actually tells you where the other camps would have actually been and all that sort of stuff. So it's definitely worthwhile. It's only a couple of pages, worthwhile reading. Well, a couple of pages on Kindle. It's probably only one page in a paperback. But yeah, so it's worthwhile reading that. And she just gives you the timeline of things that were happening and stuff like that. So, and to the story though, I really enjoyed this. I was having a great time when I checked in last time. And now that I've finished the book, which I could not put down, I was thoroughly enjoying it. It had a little bit of wittiness to it. It had, you know, some reflection, and it is like Grand Central Station here today. Like there's buses and trucks and everything going up and down the street. It's driving me mental. I've been trying to record all day and I just can't. So I've just got to get with it now. So I do apologize for any life noises. So anyway, we're following the story of Nadia. Nadia is a broken-hearted academic, a struggling academic that has written a paper on about getting ISIS brides back to their home countries and to their families and everything like that. She's in Iraq, and basically she's with the UN, and she's trying to get this up on the ground. And of course she's hitting obstacle after obstacle, but she gets very close to one of the girls there from the UK. And the reason that she gets so close to her is because she feels like she's got a little bit of a connection with Sarah. And in a lot of ways, she feels like her life could have been Sarah's life as well. Could have very well easily happened to her. Now, they both come from a Muslim backgrounds, and, you know, their general complaint is that they couldn't do anything or anything like that. You know, they wanted to forge their own path. They wanted to step away from the strictness of their religion and all that sort of stuff. And so they were having problems with their mothers and their parents, and, you know, and just were basically really struggling. And so Nadia basically rebelled so much that she ended up getting caught by her mother on social media. She had taken off her headscarf, and she was photographed with well, it was a friend, but she was photographed with a boy. And on her 18th, well, just before her 18th birthday, or just after her 18th birthday, she went home, and her mother took her key off her and basically told her to get out. And they had a strained relationship. And so, and it was 4 years before they started to make that connection again. Of course, we also had Nadia, who was broken up with her long-term girlfriend as well. And then we're now, fast forward a little bit, we're in Iraq, and she's trying to make headway there. And as I said, she really connected with Sarah, because Sarah also was having problems with her parents, you know, very restrictive, wasn't allowed to do this, wasn't allowed to do that. And her best friend ran away to join ISIS, or to marry someone that was part of ISIS. I don't think her friend knew that at the beginning, but they ended up there anyway. Subsequently, spoiler, her friend was killed, but Sarah had followed her there anyway, and then her friend was killed. And so she was left, and she's only 19 years old in the present day, and basically she's already been married 3 times and has a child that was taken away from her husband's parents, and she hasn't seen her for quite some time. And upon hearing this story, Nadia starts to somewhat neglect the other girls, and not really, even though there's one of them that is like totally not wanting to be part of ISIS anymore, not part of anything, wants to go back home, and Nadia sort of neglects her and focuses more on Sarah. And as I said, because she feels that connection and she feels that it very well could have been her. So basically, the story is flowing on from there. There are other characters that come into it, and there's a situation that unfolds, and basically Nadia gets to the point where she thinks, oh my God, I've made a mistake by backing Sarah. I've made a mistake. What should I do? Like, I've got to, she wants to go back to ISIS, and in a way she does, but she wants to just be in the Muslim community and have that connection and all that sort of stuff, because she is looking at not being able to go back to the UK. So she wants that connection, she wants that family, she wants that sense of belonging, and that is definitely the themes in this book. It is definitely there is an underlying theme there, a sense of belonging and wanting to connect and all that sort of stuff, and it's in every little aspect of the book, from relationships, whether they be sexual or friendships. There's that sense of belonging, and for Sarah it's a sense of community and belonging, and also the theme of trying to get a person to think another way. Do we actually have that right to do that? I believe no. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion and their own beliefs and all that sort of stuff. And just because it doesn't align with your belief doesn't mean that you should force them to align with yours. Doesn't matter what fence you sit on. You shouldn't force people to align with your beliefs, and things like that. Especially when it comes to religion. And I know this is going to be a touchy subject for everybody, and they're going to try and bring their own agenda into it. And I feel free to put the comments down below. Just know this is not coming from a place of hate. This is just how I feel. I don't feel that other people have the right to brainwash and or try to convince you that one way or another is correct or not. However, with a caveat on that, if you're causing acts of violence and all that sort of stuff, hey, maybe go in there and say, you know what, this is not the right thing to do. And, because you're going to get extremists no matter where you are, that in whatever religion. Like, if I take a step back and look across the board, there are people that are fanatical across all religions. And some are more problematic than others. We'll just leave it at that, shall we? But I think everybody has a God-given right to believe what they want to believe, as long as you're not hurting other people or being derogatory or being nasty or anything like that. You're entitled to your own faith. It's a very personal thing. And I did struggle a little bit with the fact that they weren't necessarily trying to take them out of the Muslim religion, but they were trying to get them to change their beliefs in a way that it probably wasn't going to be the same for them if they did that. And that's where I had, I don't believe in the extremists and all that sort of stuff. I don't believe in the extreme in anything. But yeah, that's where I was struggling, because there was a situation where Nadia was saying to Sarah that she was essentially wrong. And I don't think Sarah was wrong in that aspect, because all she wanted was a sense of community, a sense of family, and she was getting that from her faith. And so I don't think Nadia had the right to do that and make her question it and then get upset because Sarah was getting upset and going, why? I just want to be around people that think the same as me. And the people that she was going to hang around, I'll get one thing clear, they weren't extremists that she was going to. These were women that just, were believing in their faith and all that sort of stuff, and she wanted to be a part of that. So I struggled with that part of the book and whatnot. I could be completely wrong, and you're entitled to your opinion on that as well. But I just don't think that when it comes to religion, I think everybody has the right to have their own faith and believe what they want to believe. When it becomes an extremist situation where you're using acts of terror or violence or whatever to get your point across, then it's not religion. You've stepped away from it. that's not religion anymore. And there was lots of bits and pieces about, you know, the faith and you know, as I said, sense of belonging and displacement, and which seems to be the current theme that I am reading, because I've already started, you know, seeing that theme. Like the first book was very much the same. This is the same. I'm gonna guess that some of the other ones, just from the synopses that I've seen, is pretty much the same as well. So yeah, I actually really enjoyed it. I found that it was a compelling story. I wanted to stay in it. I enjoyed my time with Nadia and Sarah, and you know, and the problems that they were having, and them trying to navigate their life and finding that sense of place and belonging. I will, however, like the fact that upon Nadia thinking that and trying to change Sarah's way of thinking, she realized that family was key to Sarah, and that she made inroads to try and reconnect. And in the process, she reconnected with her own mother as well. So, you know, it was really a really well flushed out story, in my opinion. You know, it is fiction. It's not a non-fiction, but the author has obviously drawn on her own experiences in life. I'm assuming from her work, and she's incorporated some of that into her writing, and it definitely come through, because I was probably about 30 to 40% through the book, and I'm like, I'm sure that like this is reading like this person's experienced this firsthand, or been a part of something. And then when I went looking, and that's when I realized that yes, she's been in that area of the world for quite some time, and had been working quite closely with the Iraqi government and other governments around the world, including America and the UK. So it was a really interesting and thought-provoking book, and I absolutely loved it. I don't think I could gush about it anymore. So you're probably wondering what my star rating is, and if you haven't worked that out yet, it is actually a 5-star rating from me. So it's the first 5-star. Is it going to be the only 5-star? Who knows? We'll have to keep reading. But they are my general thoughts about this book. I know that I've sort of gone around, because it's really hard to get, like, sometimes I find it hard to articulate myself when it comes to these sort of topics. But I found it very thought-provoking, and it helped me sort of narrow down how I think about people trying to change other people's faith. Now, I am not a religious person by a long shot, but I believe everybody has a right to be religious or not religious. And I don't think any of us are wrong, because at the end of the day, we're all, believing in God, Allah, or whatever. So, and I think it's just it's a personal preference, I guess. And so, yeah, so that's sort of where I landed. And I really appreciate a book, even if it is a fiction book, that can be that thought-provoking and get you to, like, there were several times I put that book down, and I'm like, and just sat there for like 10 or 15 minutes just thinking about the situation and how I may have approached it, or how I think it should have been approached, or is it right, is it wrong, like there's a little bit of grey area there, and like all that sort of stuff. But yeah, do know that if you do go into this book, it does have some trigger warnings. There is a racism in this. There is also derogatory terms used in this. There is also the talk of rape, and also of people dying and stuff like that. So they're not for some people they might be real heavy. For me, they were fine. I didn't find them to be too problematic. They actually added to the story. They didn't detract from it, so they were tastefully done. So just know that. But just go and check to make sure. If you are not sure, just go and check out the synopses, and you'll be able to work it out from there. I didn't find a page where it had trigger warnings or anything, but there are some problematic things in there that you might consider a bit, how you going? But on that note, as I said, 5 stars from me. Absolutely love it. And I'm very excited to know that there is another book coming from this author, so I will have something else to read from this author, and hopefully soon we'll get a non-fiction book. But that is it from me today. Just like to say thank you so much for all the response and people that have been watching my videos. I greatly appreciate it. But as I said, that's it from me today. Have a wonderful day. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell to all notifications, and like this video and leave me a comment down below before you leave. And of course, I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.